You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. Audrey Griffin was born and raised in the suburbs of Melbourne, Australia, where her talent and dedication quickly became apparent. From a young age, Audrey's parents, John and Melissa, noticed something extraordinary about their daughter. She wasn't just a naturally athletic kid. She had an intense focus that seemed beyond her years. By the time she was 12, she had already become a local sensation, winning her age group's sprint events and earning a reputation for being a force to be reckoned with on the track. Her specialty was the 400-meter sprint, a grueling race that requires not only speed but endurance and mental toughness. Audrey excelled in this event, often beating older athletes and breaking records at local meets. But Audrey was not just known for her athleticism. She was known for her work ethic and the supportive, humble demeanor she maintained both on and off the track. By the age of 16, Audrey was on the radar of some of Australia's top athletic coaches and had started competing at the national level. She had dreams of representing her country at the Olympics. There was no doubt among her friends, family, or coaches, Audrey was destined for greatness. She was more than just an athlete. She was a role model, but Audrey's bright future would be tragically cut short by an act of unspeakable violence that would forever change the lives of those who knew her. Chapter 1. A normal day turns tragic. The morning of June 5th started just like any other for Audrey. She woke up early, laced up her running shoes, and left the house to get in some solo training before meeting her teammates for practice later in the day. It was something she'd done countless times before. The streets were quiet, and the park near her home, where she often ran, was a peaceful escape from her demanding training schedule. But this time, something was different. Audrey didn't return as expected. Her teammates began gathering at their training facility in the early afternoon, but Audrey was nowhere to be found. At first, they assumed she had simply gotten caught up in something, maybe had stayed out a bit longer than planned. However, as the hours passed and no one heard from Audrey, worry began to set in. Audrey had never missed a practice without at least sending a text or giving a call. Something wasn't right. By the late afternoon, Audrey's family began to get concerned. Her parents, already on edge from the lack of contact, tried calling her phone. It went straight to voicemail. They drove around her usual routes, checking local hangouts and calling her friends, but there was still no sign of her. That evening, they reported her missing to the police. What seemed like an innocent delay in her schedule was quickly becoming a growing nightmare. The quiet town of Melbourne, usually peaceful, was now filled with tension. Audrey Griffin, a girl everyone thought they knew, had vanished. Chapter 2. The search for Audrey the next few days were filled with frantic searching. Audrey's family, along with friends and neighbors, joined together to search for any trace of her. Local authorities launched a full-scale search, enlisting volunteers and coordinating efforts to search through the nearby parks and forests. Audrey had been known to run through these areas, and the hope was that she might have simply gotten lost or injured. As the search expanded, the community began to rally behind the Griffin family, hoping for a safe return. Flyers were posted around town with Audrey's picture and a plea for any information. Her parents held press conferences, and the media began to pick up on the story. The whole town seemed to be holding its breath, praying that Audrey would be found unharmed and safe. But as the days passed, the grim reality set in. Audrey was still missing, and there were no signs of her anywhere. The police investigation into Audrey's disappearance revealed very little. There were no surveillance cameras near the park where she had last been seen, and no witnesses who could provide information about what happened. Audrey's social media accounts showed no signs of distress or any indication that she had planned to run away. Every lead seemed to hit a dead end. Then, after 2 agonizing days of searching, a break came from an unexpected source, a tip that would lead investigators to a remote area just outside the city. Chapter 3: A Gruesome Discovery. 2 days after Audrey's disappearance, the search efforts finally uncovered a chilling and heartbreaking discovery. A group of volunteers, scouring a wooded area near the park where Audrey was last seen, found her body partially hidden in the underbrush. It was clear she had been the victim of a brutal attack. The discovery shocked everyone. Audrey had been murdered, her life extinguished in the very place where she had often gone to clear her mind. Her body showed signs of physical trauma, and it was evident that she had fought fiercely for her life. The community was devastated. Audrey was a beloved athlete, a daughter, and a friend. The realization that someone had taken her life in such a violent way left people stunned and heartbroken. The police immediately secured the area and began an intensive forensic investigation. They searched for any clues that might lead to Audrey's killer. But even as the community mourned, the questions began to mount. Who would do such a thing to Audrey Griffin, and why? What could have possibly led to such a senseless act of violence? Chapter 4: Investigation and Unanswered Questions. The police quickly realized that this was no ordinary crime. Audrey was well-liked and had no known enemies. Her family and friends insisted that she had not been involved in any conflicts, either at school or in her athletic career. Everything about her life seemed normal until that fateful morning when she went for her run. Investigators focused on Audrey's personal life, interviewing family members, friends, and teammates. They even reviewed her social media accounts and messages for any signs of distress. But there were no red flags. Audrey had been an exemplary student and athlete. She had no history of troubling relationships or conflicts with others. It appeared to be a random, senseless crime. As the days turned into weeks, the police were no closer to finding the perpetrator. The lack of concrete evidence made the case difficult to solve. Even though Audrey's parents were devastated, they remained determined to find out what had happened to their daughter. Meanwhile, the community continued to mourn the loss of a young woman who had represented everything that was good and promising about the next generation. Chapter 5: The Shocking Arrest. Months passed with little progress in the case, and the search for Audrey's killer began to feel hopeless. Then, one day, a breakthrough came in the form of an anonymous tip. Someone had seen a young man, Ryan Miller, near the park on the day of Audrey's disappearance. Investigators soon learned that Ryan Miller, a 19-year-old with a criminal record, had been spotted in the area around the time Audrey had gone missing. Miller was known to have a history of violence, and as the investigation continued, authorities discovered that he had been harboring an unhealthy obsession with Audrey. Though there had been no evidence to suggest they knew each other personally, Miller's social media activity revealed that he had been following Audrey closely, leaving her strange and disturbing messages. When police began questioning Miller, they found that his alibi didn't hold up. Surveillance footage placed him near the scene of the crime, and forensic evidence linked him to Audrey's personal belongings. The chilling truth began to emerge. Ryan Miller had stalked Audrey for weeks before eventually murdering her in an unprovoked act of violence. Chapter 6: Justice for Audrey. The trial of Ryan Miller was a media sensation. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence, including Miller's fingerprints on Audrey's belongings, his presence at the crime scene, and disturbing online messages that showed his unhealthy fixation on her. Miller's defense team tried to argue that he had acted out of a moment of passion, but the jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. During the trial, Audrey's family delivered emotional victim impact statements. Audrey's parents spoke of their heartbreak and the gaping hole her death had left in their lives. It was clear that no punishment could ever truly bring justice for the loss of their daughter. But the conviction of her killer provided some measure of closure. The case sparked a nationwide conversation about the dangers of online harassment, stalking, and the need for better protections for young people in the digital age. Audrey's family, though forever changed by their loss, worked to honor their daughter's memory. They set up scholarships in her name and started initiatives to raise awareness about violence against young women. Audrey's story is one of great tragedy, but also of resilience in the fight for justice. Her life, though cut short, continues to inspire and remind us of the importance of cherishing every moment with the ones we love. Chapter 7. A Legacy Remembered. Audrey Griffin's story serves as a painful reminder of the fragility of life. In a world where we often take our safety for granted, her tragic death brought into sharp focus the importance of protecting those we hold dear. Audrey's life was full of promise, and though she was taken too soon, her legacy lives on through the efforts to ensure that no one else has to endure a similar fate. Through scholarships, advocacy, and remembrance, Audrey's family has ensured that she will not be forgotten. Her story has inspired countless others to stay vigilant and aware, and her legacy continues to shine brightly as a symbol of resilience in the face of unimaginable loss. Audrey Griffin's life may have ended abruptly, but the impact she had on those who knew her is everlasting. That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.